I don't know if you were on Get Up the day Tim Bontemps was on there when he said the Lakers did not get materially better over free agency. We talked last week about this. I thought that they had a great free agency because they didn't do anything stupid. They brought back they brought back their guys, Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, Hachimura. They get Gabe Vincent. They get Taurean Prince. And I'm curious to get your perspective on winners and losers in free agency, because I think sometimes it's not just about the big splash. Sometimes it can be about continuity. Bucks is a great example of that. Getting Lopez to come back, him not signing a massive offer sheet with a Houston or someone like that, getting Middleton back. My team, if you were to look at like straight additions to the team and not just bringing guys back, I think Houston and the Cleveland Cavaliers were my two winners in free agency because of the additions they made to their roster, the new guys coming in. But I'm curious to get your perspective on any winners or losers in free agency or the draft or the trades.
Well, there's always shades of nuance in here, which makes it tough to do on non-podcast settings. But I think what Bontemps was reacting to was everybody saw what the Lakers did, and especially on ESPN, it was like, oh my God, Red Auerbach, move aside. Pat Riley, move aside. Put Rob Pelinka right up there. And like, if you ask me how Rob Pelinka's done over the last 11 months, I think he's done excellent. I think it was a mess after the last offseason. I couldn't believe they fielded that team and thought it would win. And I know that they had a couple of injuries early on. I looked at that team, saw its three-point shooting, saw they were going to start Russ and said, nope, not happening. And then the moves that he made at the trade deadline and then this summer have totally turned that team around. They are too deep at every position. They still can't withstand a LeBron James or Anthony Davis like major injury, but like who could withstand their star players going down? Not many. They are much better positioned for the modern NBA, and the guys that they got in the trade that they weren't super duper thrilled with, like Malik Beasley, Mo Bamba, they replaced them. I don't think that Taurean Prince is like a revelation signing, but it's a reasonable replacement for Lonnie Walker, which is essentially who they traded him out for. Like Gabe Vincent's a nice signing. I think he's a mild upgrade on Dennis Schroeder. I don't think they went from, a G League guy to John Stockton, just to be clear. I think it was a mild upgrade. They did okay. And the way I judge contracts is as soon as they're signed, can you trade them? And I had a GM who's been around a very long time who I respect say, hey, I listened to you say that, and that's not fair. You should judge it in 1 year. And that's fine if you want to do it that way. But I always judge, like, as soon as you sign a contract, can you trade that contract if you have to on December 15th? Like, for example, like on Jeremy Grant, I don't think they can. And if Jeremy Grant averages like 33 and 12 in the first 2 months, he can give me the middle finger and say, and I'll be like, you know what, man, you are correct. So the contracts that the Lakers signed, I don't think any fit into that. I think maybe a hair high on Hachimura because who's given him an offer sheet, but not egregious. Like, I think they were a little bit in trouble with Hachimura because he so overplayed his typical play in the playoffs. And so you don't know as an organization, is it just the way he fit with us, or was he just hot for 6 weeks? Because he shot, I think, 29% on threes for the season. And then he shot 48% in the 3 playoff rounds. And so you're like, oh man, well, he's really valuable as that player. So like they may have paid a hair too high for Hachimura. On the other hand, if he's that good, it may end up being a bargain. So it's an acceptable deal. And I wasn't sure how they were going to handle Russell. I was like, boy, they cannot afford to sign Russell to a contract they can't trade. They can trade that contract. They could trade that contract on December 15th, I believe. So I think Rob Pelinka did a good job. I think Rob Pelinka over the last 2 transaction cycles, which is the trade deadline and this free agency, did a great job. I don't think the Lakers blew it out of the water. I look at kind of more smaller moves too. Like I think the San Antonio Spurs, I mean, granted, they are under no pressure to improve, but they just got, like, for example, yesterday, they just got Reggie Bullock, who's a real player, and a 2030 pick swap from the Dallas Mavericks, which might end up not being good. They got him for free. The Boston Celtics called up and said, would you like a free player? Yes, we'll take a free player. Thank you. Have a nice day. And they got like Jetty Osmond for free. Now, Jetty Osmond and Reggie Bullock are not going to change your history, but like they could flip them again. And next thing you know, they've taken some cap space, which they weren't even sure how to use it. And they've turned it into like draft picks and pick swaps and stuff like that. And so I think they did well. I think the Nuggets have not had the greatest summer. Last summer, in the same summer that the Nuggets lost Tim Connolly, they smashed it out of the park there in their front office. They drafted Christian Brown, a guy who could play rotation minutes in the finals for them. And if you think that that's easy with the 21st pick, go look at the history of 21st picks in their rookie years. They signed Jeff Green to a minimum contract, extremely great value. They signed Bruce Brown to the taxpayer mid-level, which is like $6 million. Maybe the best free agent signing of last summer. I'd have to go back and really knock it down, but in terms of dollars for production, brilliant. And they traded Morris for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who ended up playing a very important role in them going to the championship. They played 8 players basically on their during the finals, and 4 of them they acquired last summer. So this summer, they lose Jeff Green. No, losing Bruce Brown can't do. They did such a good job with Brown that they lost him. You know, they can't pay him $20 million. No problem. But then because they don't have a backup point guard, they pay Reggie Jackson, who they weren't even playing at the end, $5 million a year instead of paying Jeff Green $5 million a year. And Jeff Green walks on them. So they lose Bruce Brown and Jeff Green and don't really functionally replace them. They did sign Justin Holiday. Maybe he'll be okay, but he's on his 10th team in his career, 10th. So look, at the end of the day, they have Jokic, and they're probably going to give a good chance to sign Jamal Murray to a contract extension this summer, and they're going to be just fine. But in terms of how their summer operated, last year turned out to be an A, and this year we're not looking so good right now. So like, I know that like if I was pitching this to First Take or Get Up, they'd be like, "You want to talk about the Spurs and the Nuggets?" Like they wouldn't have any interest in that. But like the Spurs have had a good summer, and the Nuggets have not so far, other than winning the title.